Okay, I can't see which two are on already because it's not showing me, but hi. Who do we got? I'm sending out the invites right now. It's probably Janny, I'm guessing. ¿Qué te pasa? Hi, Juan. Hey, Janny, there you are. Oh, it's cold tonight. I should grab... Where did I put my sweatshirt? Did I put my sweatshirt over there? I'm going to grab my sweatshirt. Hang on. Hey, oh, Willie, be careful. Hang on. I got to grab my sweatshirt and without hitting that. I'm trying not to hit the light. Move, Willie. Move, Willie. Move, Willie. You got to move, buddy. Coop, stay down. It's too cold to not have a sweatshirt on. I figured I'd put it on if it got cold. No, it's cold. What about a book? I don't speak Spanish. Hey, Ron. How you doing, bud? Hey, Mike. I got stuff everywhere. Ron, are you not going to say hi? There you are. You are welcome to come stay with me, Jenny. Anytime you need to. You can come here. You can go pester Ron. He's not that far from me. See, people missed you. What, because I told her to go harass you? Or that people missed you? Oh, this is so warm on my hands. Look, Jenny, you get all the hearts and I don't even get one. Whatever. It's all right. Oh, stop. You're fine. I know. I already know. It's okay. You don't have to tell me. I know. Yes, come out here. Absolutely. Hey, Dee Dee. Manny. That's a different Erica. Please don't. We're not doing that. Hi, Madeline. It's me. No, we're not playing. Ow, don't bite me. How are you? I've got a dog biting me again. He did this last time too. He all of a sudden decided that now, ow, was his time to play. It's all right. We haven't started yet. Why are you biting me? I have 2 miniature well, here he comes. I have 2 miniature dachshunds and a Great Pyrenees. Thanks. Nope, no new dog. This is Willie. Hi, that's my eye. Yeah, mine work, yours don't. Dustin's been trying to get me to get a new dog. Actually, he doesn't have to try very hard. Where is Sully? Speaking of which, I think, oh, he's over here. He's hiding behind me. I really, really debated and came very, very close to getting another Great Pyrenees. Because I am going to need one soon, but I'm just not sure it's time yet. Willie? Willie's a miniature. You don't get a say-so. Willie's miniature. He's like 20 pounds of miniature dachshund. He's not supposed to be. You're not supposed to be so big. Yeah. I'm waiting for Todd to show up. He hasn't shown up yet tonight. He will. I guarantee it. As soon as we start doing the live, he will show up and get all in my face. Cooper's smaller than Willie is. Cooper's only like 15 pounds. Well, they're not all Yorkies. I mean, you're used to a Yorkie. This is my coffee. You can't have it. You can't have it. You can't have it. He's trying really hard to have it, though. And that's why I didn't, right? Well, mine are 22 pounds of pure unadulterated love. Do you not see this? That's why I didn't. That's exactly the reason why I haven't and I didn't yet, is because it's a lot of work and I have to take care of it. And right now, I just don't have the ability to do both. Is that for me or for Janny? I got glue on my fingers. But it would be easier now than it would have been 6 months ago, because now at least I'm home on Fridays too. So there's that. So really it's only 4 days a week. That would be hard. Hey, Ann. I saw you sneak in. And there goes Sully. We were just talking about you. Well, we were just talking about another dog and whether or not I actually have time or energy for one. Manny says I do not. You two can argue it out. Right? See? See, Manny? He's a bad influence. He is definitely a bad influence. I'm just saying, if I got a female, she would be smaller. There's that. And Sully would have a friend to play with. And I am home now 4 days. Who, you and Manny? I mean, if you were to just bring it over here, I couldn't stop you at that point, right? I'm just saying. No, I really don't, Janny, because once or twice a month is not enough to help, really. I mean, it's better than nothing, for sure, but I don't know that'd be a whole different kind of training. The difference is, and here's the real difference, is I know how much work training and getting a Great Pyrenees to calm down and settle and listen and all of those things are. Dustin just gets to see the result of 5 years of it with Sully, because Sully's a really good boy. He's seeing the end result after 5 years. He's not seeing the first 3 years where it was so difficult. If you want up here, you're going to have to go around. Okay, come on. Come on. Ooh. Yeah. And I remember how he was a wild man. I remember going off in my car, chasing him around the neighborhood because he would keep getting out. But to be on the flip side, another one wouldn't do that as much because Sully stays in the yard. So one wouldn't have to leave. They would have Sully here. So there's that too. So really, for every argument, I have a counter argument. And I have somebody trying to twist my arm. I mean, I can't help it if he's a bad influence, Manny. He is definitely a bad influence. Although I will say, Dustin, golden retrievers are less trouble. Just saying. See? That's why you get a golden. That's why you get a golden. Because they're about 70 pounds. Big enough to play with him. And he's got you to play with. Okay, you find a golden. I want a dark red one. Okay. No, it'll be a puppy this time. I remember Brody. This will be a puppy this time, though. I should have gotten the last one. You find me a red golden, I will not say no. Has to be a male, has to be the red. And I will not tell you no. Because they learn super quick. They stay super close. They don't try to get out. They don't cause problems. And they learn very, very fast. Okay. You do that then. You do that. You got 2 weeks. Not even 2 weeks yet. You got like a week. All right. I'm going to pray us in. What do you want to name him? Yes, I'll let you name him. You can name him for sure. I know you know where they are. You had what? Your friend had like 20? Oh, come on, Ron. You're not helping here. What do you want to name him? All right, I got to pray us in so that we can get going on this because we got a lot tonight, guys. As I was working on this today, I realized I was going on 9 pages of notes, and I don't know how much we're going to get through. It might be a 2-parter tonight. But I really, really, really at least want to get to Bert and Ernie. That's actually really cute if you had 2 male dogs to be Bert and Ernie. I think if we got another male, it would have to be Mike. We'd have to go with Mike. We got Sully. We need Mike Wazowski. I need a Mike Wazowski. Just saying. All right, hang on. I'm going to pray us in. I told you he'd be here. All right, I'm going to pray us in. We're going to get started. We're going to be crazy tonight, aren't we? Okay. Heavenly Father, stop. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for showing up, for being there for us, for showing up, for coming to join us. And Father, I just pray that tonight, as we talk more about vision and what you do in our lives with that vision, and look for biblical reference for what vision looks like with you and how you show us your vision for us. We get to see tonight what it's like when vision's not always pretty, when it doesn't look like how we think it's going to look, when it's not this revolutionary, what seems like a blessing, when it's kind of backwards and messy and ugly and twisted and not always what we think, when your vision for our lives also incorporates pain and suffering and imperfections. And so, Father, I just pray that tonight you will give us wisdom, you will give us guidance, you will give us revelation, and you will give us clarity. And I pray these things in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. All right. So, hey, Crystal. Thank you for the flowers. I'm getting all the flowers this week. I don't know if you guys can see it. I got flowers up on my thing. I came home the other night to a dozen roses. Okay, you be thinking. Am I letting you pick it out? Or are we doing that together? Okay, that's enough. Thank you. Thank you. Stop. Yeah, I came home to a dozen roses here just from somebody reminding me that they care about me and that they love me. And no, it wasn't Dustin. Okay, then it's a deal. Will you stop, sir? Go. All right, so we're going to go to our verse that we've been starting with every week. We're going to go to Habakkuk 2. 2:2, we're in the Amplified Edition. No, it was a friend that gave them to me. Hey, Tina, I'm going to give her credit where it's due. Yeah, I got a 30-pound cat. We are all over the place. We are so scattered and all over the place tonight, guys. All right, let's get this together. We'll get this straightened out. Habakkuk 2:2. Then the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and engrave it plainly on clay tablets so that the one who reads it will run. For the vision is yet for the appointed future time. It hurries toward the goal of fulfillment. It will not fail. Even though it delays, wait patiently for it, because it will certainly come and it will not delay. All right. We also have Yes, long stem in a box. Yes, sir. I have good friends. What can I say? Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, no revelation of God and his word, the people are unrestrained, but happy and blessed is he who keeps the law of God. All right, so we've already talked about how visions, you're fine, how visions usually equate to the dreams, the ideas, the goals, the aspirations that God gives us. Those are those things that he puts in us that we know that he's going to accomplish for us. And I'm just kind of reiterating on what we talked about last Thursday. I'm going through it really quickly. If you want to see it, I'm going to put all of last Thursday's up on the YouTube link. I've downloaded them all, so I'll get them up this weekend. But what we talked about is that there is a certainty to a vision from God. Like, you don't know how and you don't know why, and it doesn't make sense to you really, but you know that you know that you know God's actually going to do this thing. And there's no way that you can do it. It's way too big for you. It scares the crap out of you most of the time. It's going to require some major sacrifice, obedience, and participation from you, even if that participation is actually just being still and watching God work, which sometimes that is the very hardest part of it. And that it's going to require some training with endurance for you. There you go. And then with that training that requires endurance, it's also going to require patiently waiting. And we don't like the waiting part because that's, you guys, primarily that's what God has us do. He will give us something that he's going to do for us. He'll give us a promise, a vision. He'll tell us something, and then he will have us sit and just wait in that. That is a training period for us. Whether it's to sit in silence, whether it's to believe him, whether it's to move through something, there's always this endurance period of it. Whether you want to call it your wilderness season, your isolation season, whatever you want to call it, he's going to take you through a period of training, of learning who to become, who you're supposed to become, so that you can carry that promise that he has for you. And usually you will get little bits of that promise as it builds towards the bigger thing. And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to see the end result. You're never meant to see the end result of that promise. And I'm going to give you guys scriptural backing for that. So there's always a pattern to it. God's always got a pattern to when he gives vision, whether it's to his people as a whole or whether it's to one individual. Let's think about Abraham. Okay. Usually God's going to give you, you are a ninja. What are you talking about? God's going to give you a pattern. There's going to be a call, which is the big overarching picture. This is like when he called Abraham, well, it was Abram at the time, but when he called to him and said, leave your land, leave your father's house, leave your people. That's the big vision. I'm going to make you into this big nation. I'm going to make you a people for me that are set apart for me. Then there's a training period. That's what we were talking about. This is the becoming period. This is where you're going to become who he wants you to be. And it doesn't mean it's a one-time thing. It means it's a period of building you up gradually, brick by brick by brick, to build that wall. You need to become more disciplined, more refined. Okay, so remember we've talked about in the past the refining period, how God will heat up how the refiner heats up the fire, scoops off the dross, and then lets it cool. And then heats up that fire again, scoops off the dross that comes up, and lets it cool. And you do this over and over and over and over until the gold becomes more and more and more and more purified. It's the same thing with us. He will take you through things over and over and over, but it's more like ripples in a pond. So it's more like bricks building on bricks. So he will start with the easier things, and it doesn't feel easy. I don't mean to say it's easy, but he starts with the easier things, the more obvious things in you that need to be refined. So let's say you're going out partying every weekend, sleeping around, you are just now coming to Christ. He's going to remove the big sins from your life. He's going to call you to stop doing those obvious things. Then as you start walking in him more and more, he's going to start refining it. Now he's going to start asking you to forgive people from your past. Then he's going to start asking you to pray before your meals. Then he's going to ask you to become more disciplined in your Bible reading. He's going to build off of that cornerstone and make you into the fortress that he's trying to make you into. These are those small steps. This is that period of training. Most of your life, I won't even say a lot of us, I'll just say me. I always thought that eventually I was going to get there. That it was a point A to point Z thing, and God was going to take me through the steps, and I was going to eventually be purified and refined and holy, and then I would go to heaven. Nope, that's not how it works. It's a lifelong process. You will never be perfect. You will never be holy. You will never be there. The job that you have is to continue progressing forward and becoming more holy, more purified, more like him. You will never be like him. The perfectionist type A in me so badly wants to be him, but you can never be him. You're just supposed to be as close to him as you possibly can. And like I said, you won't see the end result. Abraham never got to see the end result. I'm going to show you. So if we go back to Genesis 12:1, God calls him out of his country, right? I'm not going to go through and read the whole thing again because we got way too much. But he calls him out of his country, away from his relatives and away from his father's house, then promises him land to become a great nation and that he's going to bless the entire world with him. The rest of his life is him in the wilderness, becoming who God called him to be. Everything from having his son, preparing to sacrifice him, dealing with Sarah and Hagar and the pull between these two women, protecting Lot when he's in Sodom, finding a wife for his son from his father's family and not the women around them. So all of these things may seem like little individual life decisions, but they are all things that are leading him towards that promise that God has spoken over him. If he doesn't figure out things between Sarah and Hagar, he doesn't get to have Isaac. He can't have him. So eventually he realizes that the whole thing with Hagar was a mistake. That's how we get the Ishmael. And then he ends up having Isaac. But then he has to be able to sacrifice Isaac. And if he doesn't have the faith to sacrifice Isaac, then he's not going to be able to have the faith, not to mention the faith that Isaac has in this. We tend to overlook that part of it. Isaac was a grown man. He was like at least 16. So then, there's this whole thing that he's had to raise him in faith so that Isaac would be willing to be sacrificed. He has to protect Lot, his nephew, who shouldn't have been there, and what that causes. And that has to go with him talking one-on-one in person with the Lord and the angels that are with him in order to be able to ask God and approach God with his own requests. Where if he didn't have that moment with God where he asks him, well, what if you find 10 people? Well, what if you find just 5 people? And God allows him to do that. He has to know he has that connection, that one-on-one relationship with God. And so all of these different things, all the way back down the line to him finding a wife for his son Isaac. When he finds Rebekah, he sends his servant to find Rebekah. When he does that, he's setting up the lineage of Jesus far down the line, but he's building up to that promise that God's given him for a lineage, a nation that will come from himself and Sarah. Abraham got to see the land. He got to see the land. He got to live in the land. He never owned any of it. None of it. The only part he owned, and we know this from Acts 5, Stephen talks about it, but he did not give him an inheritable property, not even enough ground to take a step on. Yet he promised that he would give it to him as a possession and to his descendants after him. So he did not ever own any of the land except for when he bought the little cave where Sarah's buried. That's the only part of the land that Abraham ever owned, of the land that became the promised land. And a lot of times we don't think about that. Abraham never saw the promise. He never saw the nation that would come from him. He never saw the blessing that would come to other people from his lineage. He never saw his descendants becoming like sand on the seashore. He never saw any of that. And so often we get a promise from God, we get a vision from God, and we think we're going to see it. We assume we're going to see it. Abraham may have known his grandsons. He may have known Jacob and Esau. They were about 15 at the time that he dies. But that's not a nation. That's two. That's two grandchildren. Which brings me to the point that most of the time, you're going to misunderstand the promise that God has for you. The vision that he has for you, you're going to mistake it. And I've seen this happen over and over and over and over again with people. I've done it. Probably everybody in the leadership of the group has done it at one point or another, is we make some kind of misunderstanding, whether we think we're going to see it all play out, or we think it's going to happen in our lifetime, or we think who God brings into our lives to accomplish it. You know, just because he has us begin a task doesn't mean it's for us to accomplish. Great scriptural example of this is David and Solomon. David had the desire in his heart to build the tabernacle for God. He wanted to build the temple for God so badly. He had a heart to do this. And God told him, no, that's not for you. That's not the job I have for you. You aren't holy enough for that. You've shed too much blood for that. But your son can. Your son can do it. So in that, David's job, will you go? David's job was to get, hey, Erica, all of the materials together for him to be able to build that. Stop. Okay. Abraham saw pieces of the promise along the way. Thank you. See, you do give me flowers. Abraham saw pieces of the promise along the way. He saw the land. He lived in it. He had his son. He taught his son by faith in Yahweh enough that he didn't fight him when it was time to sacrifice him. Which means, you know, we talk a lot about how, you know, Abraham knew that God was going to have this promise through him. He knew that God had promised that Isaac was going to be who his lineage came from and who the lineage of the Israelites came from. So he knew that somehow God would either save him or raise him from the dead, which had never been done before. Yeah, we talk a lot about that. But we don't talk a lot about the fact that Isaac was 16 or older, anywhere between 16 and 30. He was the one carrying the wood up there. And when he asked his father, where's the ram? Where's the animal that we're going to sacrifice? And his dad just kind of blows it off and says, well, God's going to provide. Okay, sure. But at that point, he could have been like, yeah, okay, I'm not risking that. I'm out. He didn't do that, which means he had heard these promises that God, if you think I don't tell my kids about the promises that God has made, the things that he has spoken to me over my children and about my children and what they're going to do in the future and what he has in store for me in the future that's going to affect them and what I think God wants to do with them and the promises that he's given me, and how he wants them to be integrated into it. Of course I tell my kids about that. Do you think Abraham didn't do the same? Do you think he didn't tell Isaac, God promised you to your mother and I? You are a miracle. You are who the entire nation is going to be founded on from your loins, son. That is the same boy or young man, we don't know, who walked up the mountain with his dad and said, oh, you want to lay me down on the altar and sacrifice me? Okay. He had to have as much faith as his father to be able to do that. Sully, that's enough. Lay down. So let's go from Abraham, because we've talked about him a lot. Let's go from Abraham to the next one. This is where I need you guys to understand that the promise of God, the vision of God, when he gives you a vision, it's not always going to look like a blessing. It's not always going to look perfect and pretty and wonderful. Why? Because we're sinful humans. And we, in our flawed human free will state, will do what we want to do when we want to do it, especially when we think we know better than God, especially when our pride gets involved and we think our flesh gets involved. We're going to do what we want to do. Okay. So we're going to go to Genesis 25. And this is just the point I want to make to you guys, is that the call does not always look like you think the call is going to look. So when God gives you a vision, you may not even realize God's giving you a vision. Now, these are the records of the descendants of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham was the father of Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean, Syrian, of Padan Aram, and the sister of Laban, the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife because she was unable to conceive children, and the Lord granted his prayer, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived twins. But the children struggled together within her, kicking and shoving one another. And she said, "If it is so that the Lord has heard our prayer, why then am I this way?" So she went to inquire of the Lord, praying for an answer. The Lord said to her, "The founders of two nations are in your womb, and the separation of two nations has begun in your body. The one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger." There's your call. There's your vision. There's your promise. It wasn't even given to Isaac. When her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out reddish all over like a hairy garment, and they named him Esau, which means hairy. Afterwards, his brother came out, and his hand grasped Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. Another meaning could be to protect, but it usually means one who grabs the heel. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. When the boys grew up, Esau was able and a skilled hunter, a man of the outdoors. But Jacob was a quiet and peaceful man living in tents. Now Isaac loved and favored Esau because he enjoyed eating his game, but Rebekah loved and favored Jacob. Jacob had cooked reddish brown lentil stew one day, and Esau came in from the field famished. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please let me have a quick swallow of that red stuff there, because I'm exhausted and famished." For that reason, Esau was also called Edom, red. Jacob answered, "First, sell me your birthright, the rights of the firstborn." Now, keep in mind, in later times, this is the note that's in here. This was the right of the firstborn to take over as head of the family and to get a double share. It was a double share of the inheritance. So, in Jewish tradition, sacrifices were also offered by the firstborn. So in this, what he's saying is, sell me that opportunity to get the double inheritance. That's it. It's not like, oh, I'm more blessed than you. It's not like I'm the favorite. It's sell me your share of the inheritance. So with two boys, there were 3 shares, split. Everything is split into thirds then, and he gets 2/3 of it. Esau said, "Look, I'm about to die if I don't eat soon, so what use is this birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear on oath to me today that you're selling me this for food." So he swore on oath to him and sold him his birthright. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank and got up and went on his way. In this way, Esau scorned his birthright. Isaac knew the promise that his father gave to Abraham. He would have told his boys. But in this, God gave more in-depth information to Rebekah than he did to Isaac. She knew that 2 nations within her were at war. She knew that the younger would be over the older. She knew that the older would serve the younger brother. It gives us no indication that she said anything to Isaac about that. It gives us no indication that she told anyone else about that. Maybe this is why she had her favorite in Jacob. Maybe it's not. It could be just the commonalities between the kids, that, he kind of hung out at the house more. He did the cooking. His brother did all the hunting and was better at that, and that's what his father did. Maybe, because we all have that kid that's most like us. That's our little mini-me, that we don't mean to favor our kids. As parents, none of us mean to favor our kids. And there are times when the kid that you are most like is actually the one that drives you the craziest sometimes. I know for a fact that mine that is most likely is the one I used to get along with the least for most of the time. But this is where Jacob's call starts. It didn't even start with him. It started before he was even born. His mother received the vision. His mother knew that he was going to be the one who was over his brother. And then Genesis 27:18 says, so he went to his father. Okay, so let me give you guys a little bit of background before I jump into this. Jacob tricks his brother out of his birthright. So now Jacob's going to get the double share. Okay. Esau's mad about it, but Jacob's getting the double share now because Esau gave it up. He gave it up. He handed it over. That'll preach all on its own. But basically what it is, he disregarded his birthright. He knew what he had and he didn't care enough. He was so focused on what was right in front of him in the moment that he didn't see the vision for later. That's really what it comes down to, is he despised his birthright, but what that really means is, I only care about what's going on right now. And a lot of us do the same thing. When God, right? When God is giving you something and he is telling you, wait on it. Just wait. We're like, nope, I want what I see right in front of me right now. You guys, pretty much most of us on here know that I sat there for 3 years, over 3 years, listening to God tell me, do not date. Do not date. I had everyone around me asking me, why aren't you dating? Like, why? I went to my son's wedding alone because God told me, do not date. And I'm like, but Lord, you say you have this for me in the future. You say you have this thing down the road. Why not? What if I do? But there was so much that he had to work through in a training period of waiting with me in that 3-year period. There was so much healing that he had to do in me in that 3-year period that it's still not done. Now I'm allowed to date, but it's still not done. Like, there's still healing going on. It's just in a different way now. But if it hadn't been done in the quiet waiting with him, and we're going to get into how he does that, I can't even imagine where I would be right now if that hadn't happened for the last 3 years. So then what happens is Jacob and his brother are now at odds. Now there's this whole thing, and their father's getting old and he's about to die, and he wants to offer a blessing to the oldest son. That's what the fathers did in that period, is they would bless the older son, and then he would receive that blessing over his life. The same way that God blessed Abraham with a covenant blessing, now Isaac wants to bless his son with a covenant blessing. So he sends Esau out to go make his favorite meal and then come in. They'll eat together. He'll bless him, and then they'll go on their way. Rebecca hears this, and she knows what God's already said. She knows what's going to happen, and her favorite is going to end up without the blessing. He'll get 2/3 of the inheritance, but the blessing is what's supposed to carry them through forever. The blessing goes from them and to the generations beyond. And she wants her favorite to get that blessing. So she and Jacob figure out a way to trick his father. Now, that's a whole different manipulation right there. There's a whole lesson right there about manipulating your spouse and not, your parents and those kinds of things. We're not going to get into that. But we're going to go to verse 18. We're in 27:18. So he went to his father. This is Jacob. He's masquerading as his brother. So he went to his father and said, "My father." And Isaac said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done what you told me to do. Now please sit up and eat some of my game so you may bless me." Isaac said to his son, How is it that you found game so quickly, my son?" He said, "Because the Lord your God caused it to come to me." But Isaac wondered, and he said to Jacob, "Come close to me so that I may touch you, son, and determine if you are really my son Esau or not." This is twice now in two bits of conversation. He's already questioning it. Jacob approached Isaac, so his father touched him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." They had masqueraded his hands. Put skin on his hands. He could not recognize him as Jacob because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands, so he blessed him. But he said, "Are you really my son Esau?" Jacob said, "I am." That's the third time right there, you guys. Then Isaac said, bring the food to me and I'll eat some of my son's game so that I may bless you. He brought it to him and he ate, and he brought him wine and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come, my son, and kiss me. So he came and kissed him, and Isaac smelled his clothes and blessed him and said, the scent of my son Esau is like an aroma of the field which the Lord has blessed. Now may God give you the dew of heaven to water your land, and the fatness, fertility of the earth, and an abundance of grain. Sorry, there's a note there. May people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord and master over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. Now, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had scarcely left the presence of Isaac, his father, Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. And then if we go to 27:35, we just continue the story. I'm just kind of skipping down after Esau has found out now that his father has already blessed his brother and has no farther blessing for him because everything's already been given to his brother. Now he's got the double inheritance and the blessing, because once it's given, it can't be taken back. Isaac said, your brother came in deceitfully and has fraudulently taken away your blessing for himself. Esau replied, is he not rightly named Jacob, the supplanter? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright. That's not how it happened. And now he has taken away my blessing. Have you not reserved a blessing for me? But Isaac replied to Esau, listen carefully. I have made Jacob your lord and master. I have given him all his brothers and relatives as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. What then can I do for you, my son? Esau said to his father, have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. Then Esau, no longer able to restrain himself, raised his voice and wept loudly. Then Isaac, his father, answered and prophesied and said to him, your dwelling shall be away from the fertility of the earth and away from the dew of heaven above, but you shall live by your sword and serve your brother. However, it shall come to pass when you break loose from your anger and hatred that you will tear his yoke off your neck and you will be free of him. So Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing which his father had blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are very near. Then I will, my brother Jacob. When these words of her eldest son were repeated to Rebekah, she sent for Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, listen carefully. Your brother Esau is comforting himself by planning on you. So now, my son, listen and do what I say. Go, escape to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's anger subsides. When your brother's anger toward you subsides and he forgets what you did to him, I will send and bring you back from there. Why should I be deprived of you both in a single day? Side note, just a side note that I want to point out here. Again, something we don't talk about a lot. Rebekah never sees her son again. She manipulated her husband. She lied. She played a game and sent her son away. She never gets to see him again. Jacob sinned, plain and simple. We can see that. He lied. He manipulated his father. He lied to his father. He used his father. He tricked his brother. He did all the things. Okay? We know that. God used it anyway. God used their manipulation, their sin against Isaac, their sin against Esau. God still used it. Now, hear me clearly. God is not causing them to do it. God did not tell them to do it. God did not make them to do it. They chose to do it out of their own flesh, their own free will. We've all done this. God is saying he will use it in his plan. He already knew it was going to happen. And because he knew it was going to happen, he knew exactly how to use it to accomplish the purposes he had. God will use your sin, your flesh, your mistakes, your failures to accomplish the purpose that he has for your life and the lives of those to come, for your life and for his kingdom. So what I'm saying here goes back to Romans 8:28, that God will use all things to accomplish his purpose. We sit there and say, well, I've got free will. Yeah, you do. You've got free will and you can make mistakes and you can sin and you can do all those things. And God still knows how to work around your mistakes. What you've done, the choices you've made, your failures, and his grace come into play. But it's not that he wants you to do it. He's just already planned the way it when you have. All right. So then we get to Jacob's training. All through Genesis 28 through 30 is Jacob's training. I don't want to go through all of it, but I want to go through little bits of it. So in 28:1, it says, so Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, this is right afterwards, you shall not marry one of the women of Canaan, arise and go to Pada Aram and the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take from there a wife for yourself as one of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you so that you become a great company of peoples. You know, a nation. May he also give you a blessing of Abraham to you and to your descendants with you, that you may inherit the promised land of your sojournings, which he gave to Abraham. Then Isaac sent Jacob away to Pada Aram to Laban, the son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. Now Esau noticed that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him to Pada Aram to take a wife for himself from there, and that he blessed him, giving him prohibition, saying, you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother and went. So Esau realized that his two wives, the daughter of Canaan, displeased Isaac, his father, and to appease his parents, he went to the family of Ishmael and took a wife. Keep in mind, now we're talking about something a little closer, but not actually from the chosen family. Daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, Ishmael's firstborn son. Now Jacob left Beersheba never to see his mother again and traveled to Haran. And he came to a certain place and stayed overnight there because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put under his head and lay down there to sleep. He dreamed that there was a ladder stairway placed on the earth, and the top of it reached out of sight toward heaven, and he saw angels of God ascending and descending on it, going to and from heaven. And behold, the Lord stood above and around him and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father's father, and the God of Isaac. I will give to you and to your descendants the land of promise on which you were lying. Your descendants shall be as countless as the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and the east and the north and the south, and all the families, nations of the earth shall be blessed through you and your descendants. This is the promise that he gave to Abraham. This is that same promise repeated now. Hey, Chuck. This is that same thing repeated now directly to Jacob. Jacob has now met God in person. God has now stepped onto the scene. He was there all along. They had him in the background. But now he has stepped onto the scene full and in charge, and he's saying, this is what I'm promising you. Your father has blessed you. You now have the double share of the inheritance. Now you're going to hear it directly from me. Behold, I am with you and will keep careful watch over you and guard you wherever you may go. And I will back you on this I will bring you back to this promised land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep, and he said, without any doubt, the Lord is in this place, and I did not realize it. So he was afraid and said, how fearful and awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is a gateway to heaven. So Jacob got up early in the morning and took the stone he had placed under his head and set up as a pillar, that is a monument to the vision in his dream. Keep in mind, pillars are not the same as altars. Pillars were pagan symbols. He named the place Bethel, house of God. The previous name of that city was Luz, which meant almond tree. Then Jacob made a vow or promise, saying, if God be with me and will keep me on this journey that I take, and will give me food to eat and clothing to wear, and if he grants that I return to my father's house in safety, then the Lord will be my God. This stone which I have set up as a pillar monument or memorial will be God's house, a sacred place to me, and everything that you give me, I will give a tenth to you as an offering to signify my gratitude and dependence on you. Okay, sorry, I'm just muting. Come on, thing. All right, so what we're seeing here is Jacob is still not accepting God as his own yet. He is not acknowledging his faith in God. He's acknowledging his father's faith in God. And that, yeah, if you do these things for me, if you keep me safe, if you do some of what you've promised, then I'll believe in you. Then I'll serve you. We do this too, guys. Like we do this too. God's like, I'm going to give you this promise. I want you to do these things. And we're like, yeah, if you do that, then I'll do that. That's not how it works. That's not how faith works. Faith works in step out in it, step out in obedience, step out in not understanding, step out in having no possible way of doing it, and then God shows up. It's kind of that whole step off the cliff and the net will appear. That's how God works. You have to move in faith first. I always tell people I'm going to err on the side of faith. Because at least if I err on the side of faith, God will reward that, even if I don't get the thing that I think I might be getting. I'd rather make the mistake and look dumb on that side of it than not do the thing he asked when he asked, because I think I might be wrong. And he did really ask me to do it. Genesis 32. But he got up the same night and took his 2 wives. This is after, okay, let's go back. After Jacob goes to Laban's, after Jacob's tricked by his uncle, the same way he tricked his dad and his brother, he gets screwed. No other way to explain it. He gets screwed. He's in love with one woman. He gets her sister by mistake because he gets tricked. Now he's got 2 wives. They're fighting over each other. They're manipulating each other. They're conning each other out of nights with him. He ends up with like 11 kids in this 14 years that he's working for his uncle. His uncle is screwing him on the livestock and his payment and what he's supposed to get and what he's not supposed to get. There's fights infighting between the family to the point that he's finally like, we're leaving. We're out of here. Your dad is messing with me. He's not giving me what he owes. The daughters realize, you know what? We're out of here too. We're done. They're going back to the promised land. They're going back to where God has told them to go. So the same night, Jacob takes his 2 wives and 2 female servants and his 11 children and wades over the ford of Jabbok. Then he took them and sent them across the brook. He also sent across whatever he had. There's tons of livestock. Jacob was left alone. And a man came and wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he had not prevailed against Jacob, he touched his hip joint, and Jacob's hip was dislocated as he wrestled with him. Then he said, let me go, for it is daybreaking. Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you declare a blessing on me. So he asked him, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked him, please tell me your name. But he said, why is it that you ask my name? And he declared a blessing of covenant promises on Jacob there. So Jacob named the place Peniel, the face of God, saying, for I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has not been snatched away. Then the sun rose on him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. This is where we're going to camp for the next 15, 20 minutes, you guys, is right on this. Because this is the part that we don't like. We've watched Jacob go through the wilderness. Hold on. Sully? Stop. We've just seen chapter after chapter of Jacob going through the wilderness. But when it comes time to wrestle with God, when it comes time to sit with him in the difficulty, in the hard part, in the part that we are completely alone, we don't like that. This is the part where we wrestle with God the Almighty, his promise, and what he's told us he's going to do. This is the part after the waiting, after the training, after we've gotten tired and we're weary and we've watched all of these things happen and we're at the point of confusion now where nothing seems to be happening. We start second guessing ourselves of, did I really hear God right? Because that's what's happening here. Jacob is about to go meet with his brother who wanted to kill him. He's about to go meet with his brother who is coming toward him with 400 men, does not care that he just sent over a bunch of gifts. He's afraid for his family. He's afraid for his livestock. He's afraid for his own life at this point. And he's like, God, did you really tell me to go back here and do this? And you guys, I know because I've gone through it myself, that you guys are sitting there at different periods thinking, did I really hear you say that, Lord? Are you really asking me to do this thing? Because I've been waiting and trying to do this so hard. I've been trying to follow you and nothing is happening. You guys, to go back to my example, I sat there for 3 years waiting for what I thought God was telling me to wait for. And I saw nothing. Things would happen and then fall backwards. He would take them away. And then it would seem like it was moving towards that end again. He would tell me to be watching for this. He would tell me to be preparing for this. And then all of a sudden it would like go into reverse again. And I'm like, Lord, I thought we were there. I thought we were moving toward, what have you had me waiting on if not for this? And there's been so much confusion for me in it, but there's been confusion because of me, not because of God. The Bible tells us God is not an author of confusion. He's not. But when we misunderstand something and then base our foundation of what he's promised us on a misunderstanding, then we start confusing ourselves. We need to go back, and I've said this over and over and over again in different messages, you guys. We need to go back to the last thing we know that God told us. Even if it's been years ago about the promise, go back to that thing. It's why I write every single thing down. All right, so let's look at these really specifically. We need to recognize a lot of things just in this little passage. In verse 24, it says, so Jacob was left alone and a man came and wrestled with him until daybreak. Sometimes, most of the time, we just need to be alone with God to process the promise, the vision, the things that we're going through, the confusion that we have, the misunderstandings. You guys, I have had a lot of things going on in the last few weeks where I have had to just withdraw and sit with God alone. And I've had to process when I want to. Manny knows because he knows how I can spin out of control. Chris knows because he knows how I can spin out of control. And my brain just wants to run ahead, and my heart and soul now are like, no, you stop. You don't actually yet. You're getting there, but you don't quite yet. And I hope you never do, honestly. But it's one of those situations where I have had to sit with God. And friends are great. But friends come after God. Your conversations... Manny, stop it! Man, stop it. Hey, Kristen. Those conversations that you have with friends are fantastic. They really are. Good, godly friends who lead you back to God, who lead you to seek God. Those are all wonderful things, but those should come after your time with God. Your time with God needs to be the first thing that you run to. Your time with God needs to be the number one priority in every... Okay, Dustin, great example. I still spend every single morning with God. Before I even talk to you, every single morning is still spent with God. And it's because I need that clarity and focus with my Father first. I need him to clear my head, to clear the confusion, to clear my feelings, my emotions, my triggers, my trauma. I need him to clean up the mess in me and in my heart before I ever need to talk to someone else. Because if I don't, what spills out is what's left over after he's cleaned up and mopped up the mess. So imagine if that's the case, and I've already spent 2 hours with him trying to get clarity, or in some cases, the entire weekend with him trying to get clarity. Imagine how messy and ugly it was before. Does that make sense? So friends are great, but you don't go to them first. You go to God first. God is going to take you to a place where you are alone with him and you're reliant on him and his wisdom and his knowledge and his guidance and his revelation. Because until you have that, what good is human knowledge? Okay, let's put it this way. Human knowledge is great. And I know we as women especially will always seek out the person who we think is going to validate our opinion, our feelings, our emotions, and our wants and desires more than God's. Does that make sense? Maybe men do it too, but I know for a fact that we women do this. And God is not going to do that. God is going to make you self-aware. He's going to tell you the truth, and he's going to call you out on your BS. Then you can go to friends and should go to friends who are going to do the same. And God is always going to initiate the contact. He did it with Jacob. It doesn't say that Jacob went to the man to wrestle with him. It says the man appeared to Jacob while he was alone. So this man shows up and starts wrestling with him. I don't know about you, but if I'm laying in the middle of a field and I'm getting ready to cross a brook and I'm scared for my life and some guy shows up and walks up to me and starts wrestling with me, I'm going to assume he's an enemy. I'm going to automatically assume that he wants to do me harm. But what we see here when we get to verse 25 is when the man saw he had not prevailed against Jacob, he touched his hip joint, and Jacob's hip was dislocated as he wrestled with him. Jacob didn't stop. He didn't stop when his hip became dislocated. He never stopped. This all happens at night. Okay? Nights always feel longer, don't they? And for those of us who have gone to war with God and have allowed God to take us through the war that we've had to go through, and I know a lot of you guys have gone through the same thing I have. It's exactly why God has brought us all together in the same place at the same time, is we've all had similar circumstances. At one time or another, we've all lived through the ugly, messy trauma and turmoil, I think pretty much every single one of us, of divorce, or worse, being betrayed. Because I'll take divorce over betrayal every time. Divorce itself, it sucked. Don't get me wrong, it sucked. It was the betrayal side of it that was worse. He knows. He already knows. At night, it's harder. It feels longer. It feels deeper. It feels more hollow. It's more lonely. At night, everything is worse at night. You feel most attacked at night. In the dark, you can't always be sure that it's God. And in this wrestling, it doesn't even really explain what the word means in Hebrew a lot of times, because I looked it up. But it's a close hand-to-hand combat. You've got to be close. You've got to be connected. You've got to be holding on. God wants us to remember it's okay to wrestle with him. You're fine. It's okay to wrestle with him with your situations, whatever those are going to be. It's okay to not understand what he's doing, to have anger and confusion and fear, because he wants to take those things from you. And as long as you're holding on to him, he can. As long as you're holding on to him, you can still hear him whisper for you to hand it over. There have been so many things in this last 6 weeks that I have wrestled with him where he has told me, just let me have it. Just hand that over to me. This is not something for somebody to take away from you. This is something for you to willingly hand over to me and let me have it. You need to pass this over. That's what happens when you're wrestling. And in verse 25, we see that Jacob didn't quit. He didn't stop. He didn't walk away. There comes a point, though, where he is wrestling. He is grappling. He is holding on, and he is not stopping, even when his hip is dislocated, even when he's in pain. This is that stubbornness that I keep talking about. You know, you guys, I sit there and I talk about how stubborn I am. No comment from any of the peanut gallery right now about how stubborn I am. But I also know that this is that steadfast endurance that God puts in you. There is a way for God to use your stubbornness to serve him. Because I know that you guys, just as much as I have walked through difficult situations and think, I'm not going to make it through this. There's no way, come on, that I'm going to make it through this. There is no way I can do one more step of this walk that you have for me, Lord. And he says, just hang on. Just hold on. We're going to get through this. There comes a point, though, where God says, okay, enough fighting. You can hang on to me, but enough fighting. We're not going to fight our way through this anymore. And that's the part that's hard for us sometimes. That's the part where we have to sit there and say, all right, I'm going to let go. You're in charge. Or what he's told me recently is get in the back. Get in the back seat. You're no longer even invited to be in the front seat because you think you have way more input than what you have. So you just sit down in the back seat and enjoy the ride. Yes, D. Yes. Let you lead. The way to call me out on that too. All right. We need to remember in this, God hurt him to heal him. God touched his hip and dislocated his hip. He injured the tendon in his hip is what happened. And part of it is to deliberately touch him in a way that leaves him forever weakened. Think about it this way. For the rest of his life, Jacob, who, keep in mind the situation that he's facing. His brother is coming in what he believes is going to be a slaughter. His brother is angry, and the last thing he knew was that he was going to take him out if he ever saw him again. His mother has not requested he come back. He chose to do that. So he has no idea what he's going to find there. He's tried to butter up his brother with all these gifts, but what's come instead is an army. And now, on top of all of that, he has just spent the entire night, instead of wrestling and figuring a way out of this situation, because that's what he was probably trying to do was, overthink his way out of a situation. Don't even say anything, D. He thought he was going to work his way out of this, and instead, he ends up forever with a limp. He ends up injured and limping to the one person that he thinks he might have to fight. So now he's just fought with God all night, knows now that he's fought with God all night, and now is going to potentially have to go fight his brother even weaker than he was 12 hours before. He's limping. And for me, I always saw this as a bad thing. I always thought, well, way to go, Jacob. You messed up again. Now you're limping on top of this. Now you've injured yourself by fighting with God. Why can't you just get it through your head? But what if it's not a bad thing? What if that weakness is not a bad thing? And this is one of the things that he keeps reminding me of in this period is, what if it's just a reminder of his imperfection, of his humanness, of the flaws that we all have, the weaknesses that we all have? What if this is God breaking his ability to defend himself? I went through 3 years of attack after attack after attack after attack. And as someone who had been cornered all her life, as someone who always, when I got cornered, came out fighting, like I was going to claw your eyes out if you came at me, or, as Manny would say, go scorched earth. That was my go-to reaction. If I was afraid of something, if I was fearful of people hurting me or getting hurt or whatever it might be, my go-to reaction was to come out fighting. I was never going to back down until I was bloody and beaten. And that was the only way you were going to get one over on me, is to beat the tar out of me. And what if God was breaking that ability to fight? In my learning period, what he taught me was sit down and shut up. Multiple times would have to tell me, you don't get to say a word here. You take it. Take the abuse. And that's why when people sit there and tell me, God doesn't want you to be bull that God won't let you be abused. I know for a fact, and very clearly, he would tell me, you don't say a word. You don't defend yourself. You don't say anything. And I would have people lying about me at work. I would have people making accusations, spreading rumors. He's like, zip it. Not a word. And I'm like, they're literally accusing me of sleeping with people. I haven't been on a date in years. My divorce isn't even final. I'm still standing for my marriage at the time, and yet I'm being accused of sleeping around? And I can't defend myself. Like, that was one of my things, was that I took pride in that I had been, a one-woman man all my life. And here I'm being accused of these things? Are you kidding me? I can't defend that. And he's like, not a word. Nope. I've still never, to the people who made the accusation, been stood up and defended myself. And I realized I don't have to. God was showing me in that. He was taking away my ability to fight for myself to show me I don't have to fight for myself. There are people who will fight for me, that he will bring people to fight for me, that he will avenge me. And he did. Because I stayed quiet, because I didn't defend myself, not only did I learn that I don't have to, not only did I learn that other people would, and that people cared more about me because they saw my vulnerabilities, but also I watched God step up and avenge me and watch things happen and circumstances come into people's lives that pulled them out of the situation and punished them without me ever having to get my hands dirty. Never had to say a thing, never had to get my hands dirty. My reputation got cleaned up, and I was not the person who had to fight it. I was not the person who had to go take the low road at any point because God cleaned up the mess. He mopped it up. Jacob had to rely on God's promises. He had to rely on his faith. He had to rely on God's protection in that moment because he couldn't do it himself. And it's a reminder for the rest of his life, no matter what happens, he cannot forget that he was literally touched by God. God has anointed and touched a lot of us. And what we think are these horrible things that have happened to us have actually been nothing more than a blessing and a reminder for the rest of our lives. Like, I didn't want to be divorced. I didn't want to be traumatized by that. I didn't want to go through the betrayal that I went through with that. I never in a million years wish that on anybody. That was hell on earth, what I went through for 3 years. But in going through that, I saw God work and touch my life. And I have come to a place in my life and my walk with him that I could not have ever known in any other way. I would never have known the touch of God on my life had it not been for that. So now, 3.5 years later, and I know some of you can say the same thing, that you're at the same place, that as much as I didn't want to go through that, I'm grateful for it. I can look back and say I would do it again because of my relationship with God right now. Because of how I know him and how I've seen him and what I've learned from him and how I've changed and he's healed me and what he's done in my life and what I know he's going to do in the future with me and through my story, I would do it again because of that. I'd like to know where some of it's going to lead, but hey, he's been faithful in that. So why would I think he wouldn't be faithful in the rest? Oh, I'm going long tonight. We're almost done. Okay, verse 26, Jacob doesn't let go, not even after he's hurt. You can't let go, you guys. You can't let go. I know it feels like a long time. I know it feels confusing. I know it feels like it should be done a long time ago. I know you want to rush it. I know you want to, so do I. There's things that he's promised me that I'm like, is it time? Is it time? Is it time? Is it time? Like now? What about now? I feel like a little kid getting ready to go on a trip sometimes because I see it moving closer and it just makes me more impatient for it. But I also know he's going to do what he's going to do when it's time. And I'm learning to relax. I'm learning to relax into that. I'm still hanging on no matter what. Even if it all falls apart, even if the bottom drops out. Are you still going to hold on? And I know Manny and I have both said this, and it's just like what Peter said when everybody left Jesus. At one point when he starts talking about, eating my body and drinking my blood, and everybody leaves him. They're like, nope, we're out. Tapping out of this one now. That just sounds too weird to us. And he looks at his disciples and he says, are you guys going to leave me too? And Peter looks at him and he says, where else would we go, Lord? You have all the answers. That's where we need to be with Jesus, is we need to be able to look at God and go, God, I don't care if the bottom drops out anymore. I got you. That's all I need at this point. Everything else is just dross. Everything else is just the stuff that can get wiped away, and I'll figure it out, or you'll figure it out. I've said that multiple times is, I don't know what's going to happen, but God will figure it out some way. He'll show me something. He'll lead me somewhere. I don't know what that is anymore. And I'm okay with that. It's not easy all the time to be okay with that. But overall, I'm just going to be okay with that, because where else would I go? I'm not going to walk away from him. That's not an option to me anymore. I am so far out in the ocean with him, I couldn't swim back if I wanted to. No matter when you're angry, no matter if you don't understand, no matter when you're confused or you don't see the vision anymore, your vision is too cloudy, nothing makes sense, you're waiting in silence, are you going to keep hanging on? Are you going to keep trusting? Then there's transformation. What we see here is he gives Jacob a new name. You guys, before God transforms you into what you're going to be, before you see the vision, before you catch a glimpse of it, he's going to change your name. He does it with Abraham. He does it with Jacob. He gives him a new name. That new name is your new identity. That you get a new story, and as the night dissipates in this, and we see it here so clearly, it says, as the sun rises. Even with a limp, he gets to see the grace of God. Every limp testifies the grace of God. He has gone past that point of, if you do these things for me, then I'll serve you. He shows up at that place. God's done all those things for him at this point. God has led him through 14 years of having children and blessing him and being with him and working through him. 14 years of it. And now he's going back, and God gives him a new name at this point. In other words, you just met me face to face. Are you gonna believe me? Good night, Jennifer. Are you gonna believe me or you not? Are you gonna serve me or you not? You're limping either way. Jesus had a limp too. His were scars. And there's been multiple times where I've asked God, I'm like, God, who's going to want me? I have a lot of scars. There's a lot of scars to deal with here. Inside, outside, like all over. I have been wounded. And he keeps reminding me, I've got scars too. Does it make me better or does it make me weaker? And we know that because of his scars, it's helped all of us. Because of his scars, we have beauty in the future. And what he's reminding me, and you guys, I guess through me, is those scars are what, those wounds, those things that hurt us, that he wounded us with, those limps that we have moving forward, those things aren't things to be ashamed of. Those are the things he wants to use to serve him. Those are the things he wants to use to remind you to serve him. And it's not easy for us to remember that. It's not easy when the enemy is in our ear reminding us that limp, yeah, that's because you fought with God. Yeah, that's your weakness. Yeah, that's because you're not good enough. You're not whole. And God's reminding us, yeah, you're not, but it's because I chose to do that. I chose to allow that because I know who that's going to help in the future. I know how to use that to build you towards my promise. Your fallibility, your failure, your weakness, we see him do it even through Jacob's sin. I'm going to use that for your future, to build the future that you may not even get to see. That what's going to come after you, your children, your grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren, your great-great-great-grandchildren, the ones you don't even know about. You might see your children and that's it. Maybe your grandchildren. But there's going to be nations that come from this. People that we will meet in heaven when we all get there and everything is said and done. We are going to meet people in heaven, you guys, that are going to come up to us and be like, yeah, you're my great-great-great-great-great-grandmother. And I knew God because of something you did. That decision that you made, it led me here. So thank you. children's 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 children, all the way down, because that's what happened with Jacob. All right, let me pray. Let me pray us out. And then we can talk for a couple of minutes. I got a couple, probably like 10 minutes. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you. Father, we thank you for the limp. Even though we don't like the wrestling, even though we choose the wrestling more often than not, we just thank you that you will come into that contact with us, that you will allow us that contact with you, and that you will reach down sometimes and just stop us cold from what we're doing. And so, Father, I pray that as we go about our weekend, as we go into this month, that you will just awaken us, that you will awaken our spirits, that you will awaken our souls to seek you, to seek your face, and to be in that close communion, even without the wrestling. That we choose to be there to sit at your feet rather than wrestle with you. But if wrestling's what it takes, Lord, then just touch our hip. Sometimes you have to hurt us to heal us. And in that, you will use it for our good and for the good of those to come in your kingdom. And I pray these things in the name of Jesus, and that you use all of these. In Jesus' name, amen. I am tired. Where in Tennessee, Johnny? You jumping off, T? You got a puppy to go find. Good night, Johnny. Where in Tennessee? I assumed you already did that. You got home before I did. Well, that's probably when he bounced. When it got serious. Good night, Pam. Yeah. You know what's funny is as I was typing some of it down this evening, especially the part at the end about, holding on tight and hanging in there even through and not letting go, I was actually thinking about him. And I mean, he hasn't been on in a long time, so I'm just glad he showed up at all. I was thinking about him a lot today, actually, that I needed to send him a message or have somebody send him a message. You too. Have a good evening. Try not to get too cold. I'll call you in a bit. You can pray. Just let me know when. Good. I'm glad he reached out to you. Back at you. I don't know if I like you being on here, though. Like, there's way too much vulnerability and honesty on here that maybe things you don't need to know. It's weird. It's weird when you're on here. I mean, like, I don't think about it in the moment, but then after I say things, I'm like, Lord, why? Why? It's funny. It's easier for me to be that vulnerable for the last 3 years. You don't have to. God's telling my secrets. It's like, God's like, here, let's just lay out all the crazy. Yeah, you have no idea how scary that actually is, Erica. At least in this situation. That's all right. Dustin's already seen quite a bit of the crazy, like from the very first moment we spoke. Like I was really, really open with the crazy right from the jump. If he was going to get scared off, that would have been the first couple of days, for sure. Right? I just say he made me this way. Like I told Dustin, life with me is not boring. Manny could tell you that. I am definitely not boring for an instant. I am going to keep him on his toes every minute of the day. Not always in a good way. But you never know if it's going to be in a good way or not. So you got to hang in there or run, one of the two. And I tried to get him to run. I gave him the opportunity to run several times. Like I opened the door. I tried to push him out of it. He wasn't going. I'm glad. I thank God every day that he didn't go. Hey, Mike. Guys, my brother just got a new job. He's moving, but he just got a new job. I just found out today. Actually, he just found out today. It was really cute because my mom hurried and texted me that he got the job. And then my brother texted me that he got the job. And I'm like, yeah, mom already told me. And he's like, what do you mean she already told you? I just found out. I'm like, yeah, she already told me. And like she beat him by about 5 minutes. And then my sister this afternoon called me to tell me about him getting this job because it's a job he's always wanted. Like all his life, he's wanted this job. And he finally got hired on at it. And then my sister called to tell me about the job. And I'm like, I already know. Like, you're the third person to tell me. It just sucks that he's going to be moving. I mean, it's good for him. It's not good for me. Because I'll miss him. Yeah, well, you got to remember, Erica, my brother and I didn't speak for like 7 years. Really? Okay. For sure. We'll definitely pray. You should talk to your pastor friend. The one who had the surgery? The heart surgery? I think you should talk to him. No Kathy tonight, huh? No Chris tonight either. I would not want to live in Arizona. Yeah, mine's moving to Idaho. I think that's what I'm going to have to do is just schedule calls with him because lately I haven't even been able to have calls with him. He's been so busy. I've been trying to text him and he wasn't responding and then... All right, guys, I'm going to jump off. We're down to just the 5 of us anyway. I know one's Manny, one's Janny. Oh, that rhymes. All right. We'll be on Monday. Not sure what we're talking about on Monday, but we'll be on this still come Thursday. We'll be talking about vision. And I think Thursday we're going to talk about Joseph. Vision with Joseph. So we'll jump into that one. I love how he's taking us through the Old Testament through Genesis for vision. It's not what I expected. I know we're supposed to talk about Nehemiah at some point too, but airplane. Don't usually hear one that loud. Yeah, I think so, and I think he is part of the key to it. I don't know why. I don't know why I get that impression, but I just very clearly felt like he had something, some input in it. Nice, I'm glad. Because I always feel dumb reading it out loud. Especially when I like start flubbing and messing up the words. You got to remember, I literally talk on the phone all day long. I literally talk 8 hours a day at work all day long on the phone with people, interviewing and doing, reading questions all day long over like a script list of questions over and over and over and over and over all day long. So, and then I have to ask like other questions that come up. Basically, I interrogate people for a living. And so it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of talking. Hi, Mama J. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off. I'm actually going to go to bed early tonight, too. I'm going to do a couple of things first, and then I'm going to try to go to bed early tonight. Interesting. So do I. So do I, Janny. Good night, Erica. Yeah, I think he is definitely a part of it. What part? I don't know. I don't feel like it's romantic necessarily in any way. I just feel like he's a part of it. I just don't know what part or how big of a part or, you know. Yeah, I don't know what it is. But it was just a very clear that you need to talk to him. That you need to stay in touch with him. There's Ron. He's back. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off. You guys have a really good weekend. Okay? I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Yes. Yes. There you go. There you go. All right. Good night, guys.